3. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Jeffrey from Parker Dewey. I'm the founder and CEO of the organization. I apologize if I'm a little slower than usual. I just got back late last night from a great 3 days at the National Association of Colleges and Employers Conference in Philly. For anyone in Philly or who likes visiting it, you'll appreciate the fact I had great pretzels and cheesesteaks and other Philadelphia cuisine while I was there. But I am back, and today we're going to talk about how to transform early career recruitment with micro-internships. As a quick reminder, please feel free to use the chat for questions, comments, thoughts, whatever. I'm pretty good at keeping an eye on it as we go through. So I'll try to answer questions or respond as we go through. I'll certainly leave time at the end. We will also be recording this and sharing slides, etc. One thing I want to note before we get started is this session is very much focused on employers, helping employers use micro-internships as a really effective way to engage, assess, build relationships with individuals who could be future summer interns or full-time hires or other sort of parts of your team. If you are a student or recent grad, obviously more than welcome to sit in. But we are going to be hosting a session on Tuesday, June 17th at 2 Eastern, specifically for students and recent grads, where we're going to walk through, again, how Parker Dewey works and how it supports you, some best practices and FAQs. If you're with a college, university, or other post-secondary partner, boot camp, training program, whatever, again, more than welcome to sit in. We're going to be hosting other sessions. You can also use the QR code to schedule time with me or my colleagues on that partnerships team. I just wanted to make sure I'm being transparent about what we're going to cover today. So if you are a student or recent grad looking for best practices on creating your profile or how to discuss micro-internships on your LinkedIn or anything else, we're not going to be covering that today. So again, just want to be very, very transparent. And then for the colleges and universities and others, we're not going to be going into the nuts and bolts, but some of the things we are going to talk about could be really useful, especially as you're talking with your employer partners. So with that out of the way, let's get rolling. As a very quick background on Parker Dewey, again, we're going to share the slides and I'm not going to read this. The key takeaway is Parker Dewey is a mission-driven organization. We've been around for almost a decade. 100% of what we've been doing are these micro-internships. And micro-internships not as a replacement for summer internships or full-time recruiting or anything else, full-time hiring or anything else, but really as a recruiting tool, a way to leverage what we're going to talk about is experiential recruiting to support your efforts. We do this, again, through micro-internships, which are short-term paid professional assignments. Again, don't think about them as a replacement for the summer internship. Think about them as another recruiting tool, much the way the interview is a recruiting tool, or the career fair, or the info session, or anything else. Our platform is focused exclusively on what the term we use is career launchers. These are college students, recent grads, and others. Has nothing to do with age, as long as they're over 18, and it doesn't matter what form of post-secondary program they're in. Again, we are Big Tent, so whether it's community colleges, 4 years, masters, boot camps, credentials, or micro-credentials, we welcome everyone. But the key is these are all individuals who are early in their professional career. Now, it may be a military veteran that's going through a post-secondary program, learning a new skill. Yes, 100% welcome them. They are still a career launcher in the way we think about it. Again, they're launching their new career. To a couple of questions that came up in the chat, we will be sharing the deck afterwards. We also have a question about, is this for all nations? Right now, Parker Dewey is exclusively focused on the United States, with a little bit of work in Canada. But we are focused on the US. This may be global companies that have a presence in the US and elsewhere, and may be looking to engage learners that have ties to other geographic regions. So if you are a student, for instance, who's from overseas studying in the US and looking for that right job, whether it's in the US or elsewhere, great. We work with companies that are actively recruiting, again, international students for their offices, again, whether it's in the US or we want to get to know students with ties to Singapore because we have a Singapore office and we want people who want to return there upon graduation, but they're studying in the US. Again, we just want to be transparent, happy to dig in more. Challenges. So for those of you on the recruiting side or HR side or involved in early career programs, this isn't going to be a surprise to you. Recruiting is expensive, doesn't really let organizations effectively reach those students and build the relationships and build the brand and get to know them in a way that's both efficient and effective. What that does is it causes organizations to miss out on top talent, or sometimes when they're hiring, it may not be the right mutual fit. And again, the data supports this. Companies are spending on average over $6,000, according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, for each entry-level hire. And again, we know that number actually has been significantly more for a lot of organizations, but we also know it leads to first-year turnover between 35 and 45%. And again, that number fluctuates, but it's consistently been at least, if not well above that. What that means is companies are, again, spending $6,000 bringing someone in, and almost half of them are leaving in the first year. And sometimes it's because a company realizes the student may not have the right skills, but they don't realize it until after they're hired. It ties back to the fact that over 70% of college students and recent grads talk about the fact that the recruiting process doesn't effectively let them demonstrate their skills. They're more than what's seen on a resume. It's not about what major they have or academic pedigree or who their parents are. They're looking for opportunities to demonstrate their skills. Not just technical skills like can I code in Python or how well can I do a macro in Excel, but also those core skills. Those skills we as employers know make the difference between a great hire and someone that unfortunately surprises us in a negative way because of lack of communication skills or coachability or teamwork or problem solving, but it also helps us find those great candidates. The candidate that may have a major that doesn't sound like a job title who gets missed, or the candidate that's a student athlete working really hard whose GPA may be below some threshold that you have, but has all of those skills you're looking for. But it also allows those individuals to determine if your organization's the right fit. Again, it's better to figure those things out before you make that hiring decision, whether it's for the full-time role or the summer internship or anything else. And the way we do this is through a concept we created called experiential recruiting. Experiential recruiting is really the intersection of two things: employer branding and skills-based hiring. I'm not big on sort of the hot terms or any of this stuff. Employer branding sounds like, again, what kind of t-shirts you're giving out, or do you have your company's name plastered on a stadium or any of those things. When we talk about employer branding, we're talking about providing opportunities for prospective candidates to really learn about your organization, to break through the fact that you're a business-to-business company. College students may not have heard of it. They may not recognize an organization like Xylem as a Fortune 500 water technology company because, again, it doesn't have the logo or brand recognition of a Coca-Cola. But on the flip side, what we also see is organizations like Coke or Pepsi or Google, organizations that are top of mind for so many of us as consumers. College students and recent grads may not be thinking about roles with them. They love Nike shoes, but they want to do data analytics. And they don't realize Nike has great areas in data analytics. Or they think about United Airlines and are hiring to be a pilot or work at one of the gates. They don't realize United is hiring individuals with skills in AI. And what it's also about is employer branding is about targeting students based upon the goals of the employer. It might be around specific skills. It might be around location. Again, employer branding ties to we're a company based in Chicago. How do we engage and build our brand with those students who are from Chicago who want to return home, especially this time of year versus March, but may attend schools that we're not able to visit, or may not recognize our brand, or may have preconceived notions. Again, that's what employer branding is. It's not t-shirts. It's not swag. On the other side of it is skills-based hiring. Again, it's a hot topic right now for employers. It's about how do you effectively assess the skills required for someone to be successful in the job. Obviously, that's been done in very technical areas for years. An example that was given actually yesterday is skills-based hiring could be as simple as we're hiring a forklift operator. Does he or she have certification to do that and the skills to operate a forklift? Yeah, that's always taken place. What we're talking about here, though, is skills-based hiring for those core skills. Again, insights beyond the technical degree, insights beyond the major. It's about understanding, can Jeffrey communicate? Can he problem solve? Skills-based hiring also allows that mutual assessment of fit. So again, back to the massive turnover rate, skills-based hiring allows organizations to showcase what's required for their organization to be successful in a role, but also to assess the skills so that both the organization and the prospective candidate can make a determination if it's the right fit. Again, it's mutual. And it aligns with the larger strategic goals of an organization, not just about bringing in people into the door, but hiring talent that's going to stay, hiring talent that has the skills to develop, hiring talent from a broad set of backgrounds where they can all contribute different perspectives. One of the nice things about experiential recruiting is it plugs right into the hiring strategies of organizations. It's not just about filling the immediate role you have right now, but it's helping organizations build that talent pipeline. It's helping engage students early and build that awareness. It's helping that mutual assessment of skills. It's a great way to keep candidates engaged. Again, for employers that go onto campus, that meet these amazing individuals at career fairs or info sessions or other events, here's a way to keep them engaged after, beyond just sending emails that, again, the data shows they're not reading anyway, and creates that on-demand pipeline of individuals where we already know there's a mutual fit, not based, again, upon GPA or academic pedigree or how well they did on the test, but through authentic engagement. And to a couple of questions in the chat. Yes, we will share the recording and the presentation afterwards. We'll make sure to do that again to everyone who's here. So how do we put experiential recruiting into practice? As I said, we've been doing this for 10 years, and we created the concept of the micro-internship. And one thing I want to highlight is we have an internal term for micro-internships, or how we think about them. They have to be Jeff-proof, and I am Jeff. They have to be easy enough that they don't interfere with existing processes. They have to be simple enough to leverage within an organization that they don't get in the way. They have to complement what's already being done and provide enough value that they're meaningful and useful. And that's the way we think about this. So these micro-internships are essentially short-term paid professional projects that individuals who are prospective candidates can execute as a way to let you both build those relationships, again, the brand building, but also mutually assess the skills. Think about them like going on a date before the engagement of a summer internship or co-op or apprenticeship or externship or anything else, or the marriage of a full-time role. And I promise you the metaphor was less creepy when a college student shared her perspective on it, but it's a really good metaphor. And when I pushed back a bit, I said, well, isn't the sort of info session and mentor day, like, isn't that going on a date? She said, no, that's swiping right or left on whatever app. She said, I actually want to go on a date. I want to do one of these projects as a way to see what an organization's about. I may think I want to work at sort of Google or Amazon or Apple, so I'm not going to necessarily jump right into a summer internship where maybe I have one or two opportunities over my college career with an organization I haven't heard of. But will I do a small project? Yeah, it's low stakes, it's low risk, it lets them see. And when they do that project, it gives them the opportunity to recognize that it is the right organization to show their skills. So just to unpack this a bit, and again, you can see the way we define micro-internships on the screen. A few things I want to highlight. Everything is project-based. These are professional projects that are similar to the existing entry-level roles or summer internships or apprenticeships you're offering. And I'll show an example on the next slide of how we do this. Couple other things, these are short term. They typically require between 10 and 40 hours of work by the individual. And we have some great data from 10 years showing that's the sweet spot. It's long enough for employers to get great insights into the skills. Again, not perfect. It's not going to give you the same insights as a 2-month summer internship, but it's going to give you the insights to help you determine, are these individuals that we want to put through our process to interview and everything else? It gives you insights of areas you may want to focus on during your interviews. It gives you this great perspective. These are on demand. These can take place year round. And again, back to the comment before about building that pipeline of talent, this is a great way to leverage sort of the opportunities when you're not at the career fair or the info session or anything else to, again, build that pipeline and keep students engaged when they're most interested in being engaged. One other thing I really want to hit on is on Parker Dewey, 100% of these micro internships are paid and paid fairly. It tends to shake out between $20 and $30 an hour, but everything is project-based, and we'll go more into this. By the way, 90% of that amount goes to the student who completes the project. The reason these micro internships is paid is twofold. First of all, it's fair. It is fair for individuals to be paid for their work, and it's a great way to build a brand and demonstrate on campus, et cetera, that sort of the organizational values. The second reason is because it ensures they're accessible. These are not unpaid experiences. Because what we've heard back from students is being asked to do a 5, 10, 20-hour unpaid simulation or virtual internship or anything else, they may not have the ability to do that because of other commitments, because they're working part-time, because they have other commitments they need to do with family or otherwise. What we also heard is they're only going to invest that time if they're able to, if they already know they want to work at that organization, which kind of defeats the purpose. So again, what we found is these payments are vital. What we also found is even with these payments, it winds up still lowering the cost per hire, typically between 60 and 80%. So again, for the employers on here, if you want to talk more into some of the math, I'm happy to do it either at the end or as a follow-up. As I said, transforming the roles into micro internships is something that we do for organizations all the time. We've been doing this 10 years. We're pretty good at it. But also we have organizations that like to send us the job descriptions that they have for their full-time role or their internship, and we will unpack them into specific projects. And in this example, you can see this organization has an entry-level data marketer role. On the left, you can see sort of the meat of the job description: gathering, analyzing, and reporting data, supporting content strategy, recommendations based upon key findings. Here's 3 examples of micro internships that can be used to effectively engage those students, to allow that organization to show what is that entry-level data marketer role to drive the excitement to the individual who's interested in data marketing, or maybe the individual that's not sure. A statistics major who's trying to think through, how can I apply that? These projects are a great example. And again, competitive campaign analysis, perfect example of a project. It's something that a student can do on his or her own without requiring access to your info, without requiring access to sensitive data or anything else. Using public information, research competitors in the space and pull out some data and put together your summary. What that's doing is it's giving you insights on, do they have the market research skills, but also things like creative thinking and problem solving. All of these are things that that prospective candidate is demonstrating when he or she's completing the project, allowing them to, again, showcase their skills, but also giving you insights that you can't find from a resume and often can't find from even an interview. One of the things I love about this is the assessment is really built into the process. As we'll talk about, when prospective candidates apply for your micro internship, you're getting insights from short answer questions and other things like, are they a self-starter? You'll see, do they have attention to detail in the short answer question? Do they have typos, or are they communicating it well? This one jumps out at me because colleges do such a great job helping the learners sort of scrub their resumes and prepare and make sure everything's perfect, that sometimes it's hard as an employer to really understand, do they have attention to detail? These short answer questions tease that out incredibly effectively. It shows about their interest. in your organization. Now you select some students, so maybe 20 applied, and you're selecting 3 to do a project. So for the other 17, again, you still have some of those insights from the application and you've built the brand and begun the assessment. For the 3 who are doing the project, you're able to see along the way, how are they communicating with you? Are they communicating in a professional way, or are they sending you notes like they would text to their friends? Are they asking thoughtful questions? Are they showing an understanding of what you're trying to accomplish from this project? And to be clear, this is not a heavy lift for organization. What we're talking about in the process is a 5 or 10 minute kickoff call, maybe a check-in, and then sort of the final deliverable that they turn in. So with a relatively low investment, both from a cost and time perspective, you're getting these great insights. And then the final work product that they deliver. Again, are they showing problem solving, professionalism, intellectual curiosity? We've found this been so effective for recruiters. It helps them really determine, again, who are the folks they want to focus on, whether it's tied to an early ID program, building the relationships with first and second year students, or getting insights before interviewing for the internship or full-time role. One other strategy we've seen, kind of the cheat code for those of you who are on this call, is we've actually seen a lot of campus recruiters follow this strategy and then go to a hiring manager and say, here's resumes of 3 individuals that I think you should meet with. In addition to the resume, here's a 1, 2, 3-page work sample tied to your role that you're looking to us to hire from. We think this will be really helpful. Do you want to interview these candidates for the full-time role or internship? The hiring managers love it. So instead of just looking at a resume, where we know hiring managers all often default to who has the highest GPA or where they go to school or what their major is, or if they happen to be a friend's child, what we found is hiring managers are looking at that 1-page sort of work sample and saying, yeah, of these 3, maybe this one wasn't quite getting it. These 2 I gotta talk to. And in the interview, they're not asking about sort of the basketball team or why they chose to be a whatever major. They're talking about these projects that were done. Again, what you're doing as a campus recruiting professional is you're essentially driving those hiring managers to behave the way you want them to use behavioral interviewing and case-based interviewing without having to force it or train it. And when hiring managers, again, are done with the interview, they're coming back to you and they're saying, yeah, the way Jeff approached this micro-internship was so perfect. It was exactly what we're looking for. This is someone we need to focus on. This is someone we need to bring in. So again, the hiring managers love it, and you're spending less time doing phone screens and flipping through resume books and trying to guess. Again, it's a great win-win. Part of the reason this works, especially as an employer branding, is it's how college students and recent grads want to be recruited. I look at the bottom. 95% of career launchers say real short-term work experiences are how they want to be recruited. It's how they want to explore career paths. And with 75% of them beginning career exploration during first or second year of school, this is really important, especially when you think about, again, going to an info session or a career fair and not having summer internships until they're juniors or seniors. It's kind of too late because they're hungry to do it now. They also, as I alluded to before, saying the traditional process doesn't effectively let them demonstrate their skills and determine what is the right organization. This works whether it's around accessing the students, engaging them, mutually assessing fit, and ultimately driving the right hires. And what that means is it works for employers really effectively as well. The Parker Dewey platform allows employers to recruit individuals from over 5,900 post-secondary programs. And as I said, this includes 4-year schools, 2-year schools, master program, boot camp, workforce, we are Big Tent. We welcome everyone because we know there's no one right path either for the individual or for the organization. Something I'm also really proud of is we've never been a DEI platform. Full transparency, but we believe in diversity, and diversity in a true sense of the meaning. Diversity meaning not everyone coming from sort of the coast. Diversity meaning creating pathways for veterans and first-gen students and individuals from different majors and backgrounds. And what we found is even though we are an open to everyone platform, organizations have found over 80% of the students selected for micro-internships come from underrepresented populations. Again, adult learners, veterans, first gen, etc. One of the things I also get excited about is when the students are doing the projects, over 97% of the time, they're exceeding expectations. And when they're hired for full-time roles, over 98% of them stick around at least a year. So back to that stat before, typically sort of new hires right out of school, about 50%, just under 50% of them leave in the first year. Not only is that a huge cost loss to organizations, massive disruption, and it hurts employer brand, et cetera, et cetera. By going on a date before getting engaged, before getting married, it's not surprising that we see more success both with conversion and the people who stick around. So I want to talk about Geeks for Good very quickly. So for employers here, I'm really, really proud of the fact that Parker Dewey has been supported by a number of great organizations, nonprofits like the DeLuca Foundation or the DeBruce Foundation, organizations, industry organizations like SHRM, the Society of HR Management, programs like the state of Indiana or Kansas are doing programs. IBM is training individuals in AI, and all of these organizations are actually funding those micro internships. So back to that point about individuals being paid for their work, these organizations and several others are covering that cost. Now, to be clear, they don't want to cover it forever, but they're doing it as a way to demonstrate the efficacy of the model and help organizations that may not have used experiential recruiting or micro internships before, help them see the benefits, help them understand how this creates better hiring outcomes across every measurement, whether it's cost per hire, retention, conversion, like every measurement. Doesn't matter sort of what's important to the organization and what the CHRO and CEO are talking about, this works. When we have CEOs saying we need to drive more gender equity of STEM, great, here's a way to do it. Or when organizations are thinking about early career programs that they haven't stood up, or how do we do it, or how do we work with student athletes, this provides a great way to see it. So what that means is it lets you try this out with no cost. Again, the hope is maybe you'll see so much value in it that down the road you'll want to integrate it into your campus recruiting efforts or other early career programs, but there's no obligation or expectation. Schools and organizations are doing it, as I said. It's tied to their mission, like DeLuca, about creating these pathways. It's tied to specific programs of schools. Bucknell University is doing a great program focused on helping their sophomores get experience. Now, Bucknell is doing it again to help their sophomores because they see how valuable this is, but for employers, they're thinking about early access programs. What a great opportunity. Or for the employer that's based in Texas or California that may not have recruited at Bucknell or can't visit Bucknell because of geographic limitations. Great way to get to know the Bucknell sophomore who, again, is Bucknell sophomore who might be from Texas or California or Omaha or wherever and wants to return home. Or for the Indiana organization, large or small, here's a great way to keep great talent in state. And what you get with this program is not just some free micro internships, but you're also getting access to the Parker Dewey Plus candidate engagement platform. This gives you all of the data you need at your fingertips. Data on the engaged candidates, where you're able to dig in and target and filter based upon the specific needs you have. And these aren't sort of filtering through 5,000 people who just did a one-click application. Every one of the individuals who applies to your micro internships has some skin in the game. They've spent 5 or 10 minutes answering a short answer question or two that's relevant to the role. They've raised their hand and demonstrated their interest. So if you're being pushed by a hiring manager that, gosh, we need someone with ties to Knoxville for a sales role who just graduated, you're able to go into here and see who's already raised their hand. You're able to see insights around corporate initiatives, such as the one I mentioned before about driving more gender equity in an organization. You're able to see actual feedback on how these individuals did on these projects, not based upon, again, GPA or how well they interview, but based upon how they actually performed. How was their communication? How was their attention to detail? So for organizations here, you can get started today. We have a couple of QR codes. Again, you can use the top one just to jump right in. Again, no commitment. We'll ask a couple of questions and we'll follow up and create something specifically for you. We're also happy to jump on the call and talk through and answer other questions and do sort of whatever we can. So feel free to use either or both of the QR codes. We love doing this. So I'm going to take a 10-second break to grab some coffee. If anyone has any questions, please use the chat. And then what I'll do is I'll try to answer those questions. And then what I'll do sort of after that is I'm going to walk through sort of the very tactical steps to get started. But I'm going to take a sip of coffee. Any questions, please feel free to use the chat. I guess not. So let's go through and how to do this. As I said, everything needs to be Jeff-proof. Micro-internships, 3 steps. Post your project, pick who you want, the work gets done. Easy by design. Again, this is because our marketing team didn't want to write Jeff-proof on it. It's easy by design. So posting a project, as I said, if you send us a job description, we can unpack it for you and give you suggestions. But we also have a whole bunch of templates. The benefit of having been doing this for 10 years is we know if you have an entry-level technical sales role, here's a great micro internship. That's a perfect way to engage and assess candidates. Or we're looking for folks on our HR team. Here's a perfect project. So again, we have templates, but you can always send it to us. All you need to let us know is, again, what's the role you're trying to fill? Are there any specific timing requirements and any other goals you have? Again, is your organization focused on students or recent grads with ties to Kansas? Great. We can set it up so it targets them. Are you doing this tied to your work with focus schools? So you're visiting 3 campuses and going to the career fair and you're looking for ways to keep students warm or engage the students beforehand. Great. Or you're trying to partner with student club. Great. We just need to understand and we make this all easy. Once the project is posted, the students apply. You don't have to go school by school. You don't have to post and share and hope they come and post on LinkedIn or any, again, great if you want to, but we fortunately have a network of millions of these career launchers that are logging in every day. Again, back to that stat before, by giving these individuals what they want, when 95% of them say how they want to be recruited, they're coming here without needing to be nudged or pushed or required or anything else. What that means is when they're applying, you're only seeing those individuals who have proactively applied. They're not doing it because their school requires it, because we don't allow schools to require it. They're not doing it for a class. They're doing it because they see your project in your organization and they're raising their hand. It might be because it's their dream organization and you're not recruiting on campus, or maybe you are and they're trying to get a head start. Or it might be an organization they weren't thinking about. Again, we're doing something with one of the big 4 accounting firms where they're using these projects to engage students who aren't yet studying accounting, first and second year students, to drive interest in their industry and their firm. Great. So you're seeing the candidates who apply. As I said, you can see their profiles and their LinkedIns, but most importantly, those short answer questions. You're able to see in 10 seconds, less time than it takes to even schedule a phone screen, and certainly watch a video interview or sit in a phone screen. From reading these short answers, you can see those skills, those attention to detail, level of interest, etc. And then once you select the candidates, the work gets done. So again, for employers, what we suggest is once you select a candidate, have a 5 or 10-minute call. I always like doing that. I think it's a great opportunity to really clarify what we want. We're looking to do a competitive analysis of how other organizations are doing campus recruiting. That might be the project. Let's hop on a 5-minute call and maybe get some questions from the students. Do you want us to look at certain industries? Are you interested in certain company sizes? Are there certain roles? Do you want me to deliver it as a PowerPoint or a Word doc? I also think it's a great way to build your employer brand. It's not the artificial conversation that often takes place at career fairs where it's, what's your hiring timeline? Or tell me about a typical day. They're asking you thoughtful questions about the project. allowing you to get insights into their skills. Once that happens, the student then uses his or her own resources. You can certainly provide some, but these are projects that don't require access to anything sensitive. So like when we're working with Northrop Grumman, they're obviously not sharing sort of classified information with students. When we're working with the investment banks, with the wealth management teams, they're not sharing account information or social security numbers, obviously. The students are using their own resources. They're getting the project done. And again, back to that, can they solve a problem? We think this is a really great way to see it. We also have an entire team based here in Chicago that supports organizations if they have questions. Typically don't, because as I said, it's Jeff proof, but when those questions come up, we're here. And when the project's done, leave feedback. It takes about 10 seconds. Again, designed to be easy, designed to drive people to use it. We're asking you to give feedback on sort of 5 key areas. How did the student communicate? Did they deliver it in a timely manner? Really, really simple. It's incredibly useful both for you as you sort of get insights into those candidate skills, but we're also sharing it back with the students so they can learn from it, so they can improve. And we think, again, it's incredibly valuable. So again, how it helps you. Great way to connect with emerging talent, great way to experience their skills, low lift. That's important. And you're getting insights you can't get anywhere else. Again, I kind of hit this before. You define the goals, we hit everything else. We want this to be easy. I'm going to show you 3 very quick case studies and then, again, open it up to questions. 1, are you hiring right now? Do you have open roles that you're trying to fill? Maybe that last minute summer internship that someone came to you with, even though your summer intern started a couple of weeks ago. You can use this for a job audition. Or maybe your sales team, in the case of Smith Nephew, the sales team is constantly hiring. And they're looking for, again, this entry-level talent that may want to have a background in mechanical engineering or student athlete or anything else. They posted a micro-internship for the business development team where it was, we want you to develop a 5-minute pitch deck with just we're not going to share anything. Use public information about Smith Nephew and our products. We're interested in seeing a pitch deck, not because they're necessarily going to use it, but because they want to understand, does the student actually have interest? And when the student's using public info, are they taking the right information that's going to be important to the client? How well do they communicate? How well all of these things tease out? Train Technologies is using this to build a campus ambassador program on campus. So again, they're thinking about the upcoming campus recruiting year. Again, the interns just started, new hires just started, but they're already thinking about August and September. Here's a way to, again, build campus ambassadors who are around campus talking about the organization. And then Xylem, the company I mentioned before, they're using this for early ID, and they have uncertain needs. So what they've done actually is they have hiring managers using this as a perk. So I'm on the marketing team. I need help writing a blog article or getting competitive research done. The hiring team views it as a perk, and what it's doing is it's building a great talent pipeline for the recruiting team, always on, ready when they need it. And you get data, weeks, not months, not years. Simple to execute, simple to launch. That's it. Helps you build your employer brand. It helps you reach the targeted talent, assess candidates at scale, and ultimately drive the metrics that matter both to you and your colleagues and organizations. So again, next steps, I shared the QR codes. Post a project. Schedule time with us. Leverage these free trials. I love getting to be Oprah giving these away. Or schedule time to meet with us, and we're happy to talk through. With that, again, any questions from the folks who stuck around with me for 45 minutes? Did I do okay? Was I overly exhausted from NACE? I hope I was okay. Awesome. Well, if people have questions, again, please feel free to follow up, schedule time with us, let us know. We're happy to help for those organizations or for those individuals, either from colleges or career launchers or others. Again, feel free to join one of those other sessions that we shared at the beginning. Hopefully this was still useful for you, getting insights into how employers think about this. One of the things I get most excited about with Parker Dewey, I'm obviously a bit biased about it as the founder, but it's a great win-win. For career launchers, it's a win because it lets them get valuable experience, demonstrate skills, explore career paths, build a resume, all of these great things. But it's also a win for employers. It helps them identify and engage and ultimately hire the individuals that are going to be great fits for their organizations and do so in a way that's efficient and effective and easy. And for the universities and workforce partners in boot camps, it's a great way to support both the students and the employers to respond to that employer that might not see the student engagement that they were hoping for on campus, or for the employer that may not have the brand recognition, or for the employer that's not massive, that can't necessarily come to that career fair, but wants to recruit your students. All three of those stakeholders win because ultimately it leads to more career launchers landing in the right roles, and more employers hiring the right individuals for those roles. So with that, thank you very much for your time this Thursday afternoon. With that, this concludes the webinar. We will share the recording, slides, etc. And please don't be bashful. Reach out to us if you have questions, thoughts, feedback, whatever. Thank you again for joining us.